The Legend of Zelda is a franchise with a rich history of large-scale adventures. Link has saved Hyrule and various other kingdoms on a number of occasions, but he's never gotten far without the wide variety of items this series has to offer. From combat to puzzle solving to exploration, these items have been shown to have a wide array of uses to Link. But how useful would they be to your average person in real life? Hey guys, I'm Brad with One Up Binge, and this is Legend of Zelda items, useless to most useful. Before we start, we should lay down a couple of ground rules. Like we said, we're judging how useful these items would be in real life. So items like the boomerang and the bow will not be included as they already exist. Second, we're going to be using the most useful variant of each item. That way we can avoid redundancy. Third, we're going to assume the items work as intended, so items that use magic will still work, and theories like the hook shot ripping Link's arm off will not be considered. Finally, it would be tough to rank every item in the series' history, so we're just going to focus on the most iconic and interesting items. With all those rules established, let's get started. Our first category is the useless. These are items that may have been useful in the games, but have little to no utility in real life. Our gold medal of uselessness goes to the blast mask from Majora's Mask. In the game, it serves as a reusable explosive that damages you in the process. Since it doesn't kill Link and can be detonated multiple times, we can assume that it doesn't function the same as something like a suicide vest. Still, it would probably cause the user intense pain and maybe serious injury as well. The only time something like this would be useful is in a situation where you need a bomb, which basically never happens unless you work in the military, demolition, or something similar. And in those situations, you have access to regular bombs that you can avoid the blast radius of. Our silver medal of uselessness goes to the Goddess's Harp from Skyward Sword. Most of the magical instrument items in the major Zelda games have songs with some real-world application. The Goddess's Harp is a major exception to this, as the songs played on it only open specific areas of the game, and since those areas don't exist in real life, there's nothing magical that can be done with it. Granted, that still leaves you with a nice harp, so if you know how to play, you could make some good music, but that's about it. The bronze medal of uselessness goes to the Deku Scrub Mask. Even in the world of Majora's Mask, the Deku Scrub Mask is looked down upon. When Link is turned into a Deku Scrub temporarily, it's viewed as a curse, and he isn't even allowed to leave Clock Town in that form. While it has uses in regular gameplay, those uses don't carry over to real life. The only benefits to being a Deku Scrub are being able to skip on water, but only a few times in a row before you fall in, being able to shoot bubbles, which are highly inaccurate compared to arrows, let alone more advanced real-world tools, and being able to shoot yourself out of flowers and glide your way down, but as you've probably guessed, they aren't flowers big enough to do this in real life. The ball and chain has very limited uses. It can be thrown to move heavy objects, but in order for that to work, you need another item to increase your strength, and a good deal of coordination to operate it properly. Plus, it's probably much less effective than real-life equipment, like forklifts and tow trucks. The Skull Hammer from Wind Waker is actually effective. It's a powerful hammer that can pound tough switches, break through armor, and dispatch enemies. Also, despite its size, it's relatively lightweight if the ease with which Link wields it is anything to go by. The only reason it's in the useless category is because we can't think of any situations where you would need a hammer like this. It's too large for most construction or DIY projects, and there aren't exactly a lot of uses for a hammer in everyday life. This next one may surprise you, but we're going with the Fierce Deity's Mask. The mask greatly enhances Link's combat abilities and is a great reward for collecting all the other masks, but it's tough to find uses for a weapon of this caliber in real life. We suppose it could be a useful tool for self-defense, but even then it kind of seems like overkill when something like pepper spray would get the job done. Up next, we have the Amusing. These items that have little to no practical uses but are still worthwhile for entertainment value. They're ranked based on how easy they would be to use and how much fun could be had with them. Starting off this category, we have the light arrows. In the games, they're one of the best weapons to vanquish Ganon's foot soldiers. Since there aren't any forces of evil they would be effective against in real life, that eliminates any combat uses. They could be used as a tool for hunting at night, but even then that seems impractical. The real use for them would be firing them off at night like makeshift fireworks. You would have to make sure the area was free of people, but they're still not as dangerous as regular fireworks. They might not be flashy, but they could be nice when you have nothing else to do. The hookshot has had plenty of incarnations in the Zelda series, but the most advanced version has to be the twin claw shots from Twilight Princess and Skyward Skyward Sword. Their usability is limited due to the lack of viable targets. Using them to swing around like Spider-Man in an urban area would likely result in a lot of property damage, and probably wouldn't work due to most of the targets being breakable windows. In a more natural environment though, assuming there are enough things to grab onto, they could be fun. Even still, we're gonna dock them a few more points due to the danger involved, as you're in deep trouble if the surface you're clinging to starts to crumble. Wanna go ice skating on your local pond, but the weather isn't cold enough for it to freeze over? Well, that's when the ice arrows come in handy. Just shoot them at the pond and you've got plenty of room to ice skate. The only downside is that it might take a few arrows to freeze the whole thing over, and you may have to shoot a couple in every now and then to keep it from heating up. Heading out to the beach? Well, then it might be fun to pack the sand wand. Sure, its control to sand isn't super complex. It mostly gets the sand to rise up in ways where it's sturdy enough to walk on. It doesn't have much control over the shape of the sand. Still, there's a lot that can be done with this. It can give you a better view of the beach, serve as a nice starting point for a sandcastle, and probably has other fun uses if you really let your imagination run wild. Also, in the unlikely event you get lost in the desert, using this might make it easier for people to find you. The physics of Twilight Princess's spinner are tough to grasp, but if we were to guess, we'd say it functions similarly to a skateboard, requiring consistent momentum to keep moving. This rules out being any sort of practical transportation, but we dare you to tell us with a straight face that this doesn't look fun to ride. If riding it became popular, there could be dedicated spinner parks open that had the same rails as in the game. Rounding out the impractical category, we have the Deku Leaf. What puts it above every other item in this category is that it can be used in just about any situation. It's able to give off a large gust of wind, which could be nice for everything from cooling off on a hot day to pranking your friends. Then of course there's its use as a hang glider. Considering Link was able to effectively wield it as a child, it's probably pretty easy to use. It can serve as a nice way to glide through the air and as a lifeline if you accidentally fall off a ledge. Probably makes a claw shot safer too. Now we're into the useful category. These items are nothing earth-shattering, but they make everyday life easier in various ways, so it's very easy to call them useful. The Wind Waker is situational as far as its uses go. It can change the direction of the wind, which is helpful if you're a sailor, or downwind from something that smells bad, but that's it. It can also change day into night and vice versa, but it's difficult to find a use for that. It would likely cause more harm than good. The whip is convenient. Unless your name is Indiana Jones, grabbing faraway items with a real-life whip is unlikely to end well. This whip, on the other hand, is easy to use. So long as you hit the target you're aiming for, you can pull it over to you, or swing from it if it's nailed down. It's still low because objects have to be close for it to work. But how many times has your remote been out of reach, or your phone is all the way on the other side of the room? Bet you wish you had that whip. If the item you're trying to grab is a bit further away though, you should try the Beetle. It functions like a drone, only it picks up any small or moderately sized objects it runs into. It's not perfect, the steering can be difficult, and it can't fit into small areas, but if an item is in a spot that's dangerous, high up or far away, then this can be a lifesaver. We've all been in a situation where we don't want to be noticed. Maybe you're buying something embarrassing, don't feel like talking to that coworker, or walking through a bad part of town. Well, that's where the stone mask comes in. It doesn't make this user fully visible, but it makes you less likely to be noticed. Our interpretation is that it makes people much less likely to interact with or pay attention to you, and as we just laid out, that has a few uses. We were torn on whether to include the Pegasus boots or the bunny hood on this list, as both of them are items that increase your running speed. In the end, we decided to go with the bunny hood as it's easier to use. The Pegasus boots have you do an intense dash in a straight line that almost always ends with crashing into something. The bunny hood increases your running speed, and if you're ever in a hurry and need to get somewhere on foot, we don't need to tell you how useful that can be. Plus, it's probably great for workouts. While we recommend using this one sparingly, we can't deny the usefulness of the all-night mask. It has a simple function. You can't fall asleep while wearing it. The design of it is concerning, so we won't ask how it keeps you awake, but you can't argue with the results. Whether it's to finish an assignment, camp out for a brand new video game, or make it through a long drive, we've all had times where we desperately needed to fight off the specter of sleep. Using this too much probably isn't good for you, but neither is downing cans of Monster Energy, and this seems at least a little less unhealthy. Rounding out this category, we have the Goron Mask. While taking on such a bulky form may be inconvenient, it's hard to go wrong with increased strength and implied resistance to the elements. Plus, doing one of those Goron rolls is probably a lot of fun. Our final category is the world-changing. These are items that would drastically change everyday life, or maybe even society as a whole, if widely adopted. Starting off, we have Master Cycle Zero. Master Cycle Zero is largely the same as any other motorcycle, but with a few key differences. For starters, it doesn't operate off of fossil fuels. Instead, you can load any material you want into the tank to fuel it. So this motorcycle provides an environmentally friendly solution to transportation, both producing zero emissions and serving as a great way to dispose of unwanted garbage. Of course, it couldn't completely change transportation, as there are still things you would need cars and trucks for, but it would help. Also, you don't need to worry about it being stolen, as you can summon it from pretty much any location, which is really convenient. Rounding out the transformation mask, we have the Zora mask. The Goron mask may have been useful, but it's nothing compared to the Zora mask. Over 70% of the Earth is made up of oceans that humans can't survive in. The ability to not only swim really fast, but also breathe underwater is a game changer. Perhaps humans wouldn't set up colonies under the sea due to the many other factors that would make it a challenge, but there's still so much that can be learned about the ocean without the limitations of diving equipment. The Bronze Medal of Usefulness goes to the Golden Gauntlets. There are plenty of Zelda items that increase the user's physical strength, but none are as impressive as the Golden Gauntlets. Looking at the size of the stone pillar that Link lifts up using these things, it's clear they bestow an insane amount of power. Doing things like moving furniture would be much easier, but even stuff like construction would be revolutionized with something like this. Our Silver Medal of Usefulness goes to the Sheikah Slate. This gives you a variety of helpful spells on a device that can fit in your pocket. The slate allows you to telekinetically lift metal objects, briefly stop any object or person in time and even affect their momentum, summon bombs from thin air, instantly freeze water on command, and even take pictures. Okay, that last one isn't a huge deal, but the others really are. Cryonis could be fun when near any sizable body of water, and there are tons of potential uses for stasis and magnesis. Breath of the Wild does a great job of showing its potential, and most of that potential carries over to real life. Finally, our Gold Medal of Usefulness goes to the Ocarina of Time. Where to begin? As opposed to the Goddess's Harp, so many of the songs it plays are useful. For starters, time travel is a useful feature, although you could argue that it's only able to time travel in a very limited capacity, due to the Song of Time only doing one very specific thing in each game. Even ignoring the Song of Time, the Ocarina of Time does a lot. It can summon rain, which would be a godsend to places experiencing droughts. It can also heal tormented souls, which may help with treating trauma. On top of that, it can teleport you, slow down time, and even create a creepy statue of yourself, if for some reason you wanted to do that. Given the many insanely powerful uses the Ocarina of Time has, it had to be our pick for the most useful item. Alright, that's the list. What do you think? Do you agree with our rankings? Which Zelda item would you most like to have? Let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite games. Thanks for watching.